can't repeal the $700 billion. We've already spent $250 billion. We've indicated to the financial industry that that money will be available. Now, the way that it was spent initially is something I did have a major hand in. In fact, Mr. Soros and a number of other people called me and explained what Treasury plans to do is not going to be effective in unfreezing the credit markets, because and they had frozen. That's why we had to act. I think it's terrible to be spending money we don't have. I do think most of it will come back to the government, as long as the government owns what we're purchasing and is going to keep the profit, which is a provision that we put into the bill that was not in Mr. Paulson's original bill. But there wasn't anything we could do. You know, to use the analogy, greed has driven our economy, particularly for the last 7 years. And 1/3 of all the corporate profit, it's been the highest ever in American history over the last 7 years. 1/3 of it has gone to the financial services industry. And a lot of it for these exotic debt instruments, finding ways to maximize profit. You do issue a collateralized debt obligation, you don't have to put up any reserve requirement, no transparency. AIG can tell Lehman, I'll insure $100 billion of loans so you can get AAA rating for 2%. AIG takes the $2 billion, does nothing. It's pure profit. And so now we've got these $62 trillion of collateralized debt obligations floating around the world. And it turns out that they can't make good on their guarantees, and so the markets froze. And no one could get money. All the commercial banks came in to see us and said, we can't issue any loans. Furniture stores, clothing stores, car deal, whatever. There's no money because everything has frozen. So we had to act. We acted urgently. And I put in the bill with Mr. Frank a provision that we can give money to the banks in exchange for preferred stock. We thought it should be 10% preferred non-voting, because I don't think the government should be in the business of owning banks, and we shouldn't be in the business of owning loans. The private sector should maintain that. But they needed a cash infusion. We put a cash infusion in. We will keep the preferred stock and unload that just as soon as the banks are on their feet. And hopefully what we buy, since it will be a reverse auction, we will get the best possible price and sell it for a profit to the taxpayers. We put in a provision that requires that any profit go into deficit reduction, which again I think was a very important provision, as well as requiring oversight over the Treasury Secretary, which was not in the original bill. This is a big subject. I didn't intend to use all my time to explain it, but it is a complicated one, and I hope we get some more questions, because it's probably the foremost thing on your mind, and I'm more than happy to respond to any questions that you have on that.